Uh-oh.
In her last two fights. Good way hitting him from now
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Veteran trainer Joe Gallagher took to his social media and simply put, he posted an image of two of the four welterweight champions, his fighter, his charge, Natasha Jonas, two-division champion currently, IBF champion at welterweight, and Croatia's own WBC champion, two-time welterweight champion, Ivania Habazin.
Is he hinting at a fight?
It would seem that he is. Why else would he post this? With an hourglass, awaiting a fight date for just such a fight? It makes sense for Natasha. It would make sense to unify titles.
Yes.
I remember when Lauren Price fought Jessica McCaskill for what was Jessica's title, Ivana Habazin was there. She was in attendance at that boxer show, which gave me the impression that they had every intention of doing business with her, perhaps to fight either Lauren or Natasha.
So it looks like she's fighting Natasha. Not a bad fight.
Natasha Jonas sports professional record of 15 wins with 2 losses, 1 draw, 9 knockouts, having only ever been knocked out once
In 18 professional bouts, and she's been in there with some of the best.
to Ivania Habazin, who sports professional record of 23 wins with 5 losses, no draws, 7 knockouts, having been knocked out once, just once, in 28 professional bouts, more the veteran fighter of the two. Ivania's been around a lot longer than Natasha Jonas. She's been there and done that with some of the best,
Just like Tasha.
but for a longer duration of time. In some ways, Ivana does have the edge in experience, you could say that, but Natasha has a much higher ceiling, I would say, than Ivania. That Natasha is by and large a better boxer, fundamentally sound and strong.
If they are gonna fight.
And they might. So both Natasha and Ivania saw action earlier this year. Ivania was last in action in April of this year opposite the ring Kinga Magyar, who she decisioned for the vacant WBC title. She saw action 2 times last year, and she's already seen action once this one. Natasha, not as active in the previous year. She only had 1 fight last year, just one. The Candy Quiet fight in July of last year, then the Michaela Mayer fight in January of this one. And things have been mostly quiet for Natasha since then. I'm sure she's found ample ways to keep busy, but as far as boxing and boxing news, we haven't heard very much.
Some effort to run it back with Michaela Mayer, do a rematch. That didn't materialize, that didn't happen. Michaela's fighting Sandy.
And Natasha might fight Ivania. I like Natasha's chances against Ivania, in spite of how Natasha looked in her last fight with Michaela.
I think Natasha got a gift in her last fight. I think Michaela Mayer beat her, but in spite of that, I still think Natasha has what it takes to beat Ivana, because Ivana is nowhere near as talented as Michaela Mayer, even if she is very experienced.
It's not as good. If the prediction sticks, and Natasha Jonas beats Ivana Habazin, that will be the 3rd reigning champion she will have taken a belt from. She took the WBC title from a then unbeaten Patricia Bergult at 154 pounds.
Took the IBF from Marie-Eve Dicaire.
If she takes the WBC from Ivana Habazin, that will be the 3rd reigning champion she will have unseated, and grounds for her to move up the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list.
She's currently ranked at number 6.
She wins this fight, she'll move past Alicia Baumgartner up to number 5, entering into the the top 5 of the list.
Though she's no spring chicken,
She's 40 years old, and I remember hearing that this might be her final year in the sport of boxing. I'm not sure if that's still the case. I feel like this Ivana Habazin fight could be a prelude to a Mikaela Mayer rematch. That if Mikaela wins her next fight, Natasha wins her next fight, they'll run it back, and maybe Natasha will cap off her career that way. We'll see.
because based on where we are right now, there's not much left of 2024, which would put a Mayer rematch sometime in 2025.
Things can happen. But I like the Jonas Habazin fight. I think it's the appropriate fight. I think it's what the welterweight division needs right now. There are 4 reigning champions at the weight, and these belts need to get unified.
You also mentioned that, you don't have a fight, Tank don't have a fight.
Yes.
Which one of those 2 fights interests you more, Javante Davis or Terence Crawford?
Whichever monkey wants to get the banana.
I believe that was a curious choice of words from Teofimo Lopez when asked about either Javante Davis or Terence Crawford. Curious way to describe them and that situation, whichever monkey wants the banana. No, I don't think in today's day and age you can arrive at that choice of words about those 2 individuals without some underlying tones. In tandem with what I've heard from Teofimo in the past about how he felt he wasn't being prioritized by Top Rank, and he told them that they can keep their black fighters.
He made it a point to highlight that.
If your issue was a lack of promotion from your promoter, what does their race have to do with that?
What do monkeys and bananas have to do with this? No, Teofimo knows exactly what he's doing and what he's saying, and he's saying it deliberately. It's a free country.
He's free to say it, as I am free to react to it. However, I wish to react to it. My reaction is that Teofimo is a bigot. He is a racist.
Him and his father.
Just like Ryan Garcia and his father and the more inflammatory things we've heard Ryan Garcia say. Peas in a pod. These 2 cut from the same cloth.
Racists.
They're racists, the both of them, and they're not alone. So that when you see people going up to bat for Ryan Garcia, in spite of his lack of character, lack of ethics, lack of discipline,
Hate speech.
those going up to bat for him share in those sentiments the same way that anybody defending these comments from Teofimo shares in his sentiments. Now, these people are not alone.
There's more.
There's always more. That's why they feel comfortable enough to say this stuff. And once again, it's a free country. Teofimo is free to feel however he feels and say whatever he wants to say, the same way I'm free to feel and I'm free to say whatever I want to say. And I say, this guy's a racist.
You don't arrive at that choice of words in this day and age by accident. You know exactly what you meant.
Counterintuitive in a profession where public opinion directly affects what you make for a fight, what you can make and what you will.
But what is Teofimo if not counterintuitive?
So when he had that row with his promoter Top Rank, saying that he felt like he wasn't being pushed and he wasn't being promoted, and he told them that they can keep their black fighters.
What do black fighters have to do with anything?
Do you think that you're supposed to get priority over them after you lost to George Cambodia? After dragging things out needlessly for a few more dollars, just a bit more money. The fight could have happened much sooner than it did. There's a year in between the Vasyl Lomachenko fight and the George Cambodia fight that you lost, and why? Why is that?
It was because of Teofimo. It was all him.
That time, we're just coming out of the pandemic. The live gates, the audience, it isn't all the way back yet, and you're looking for big money for what was not a big fight. Top Rank was not going to break the bank for you or that fight, and you took it personal. So you drug things out, chasing a few more dollars, and it costed you. All of that was you and your team's fault, not Top Rank and not the black fighters they promote.
How many times have I told that story?
Fast forward, he's talking about a Javante Davis fight, he's talking about a Terence Crawford fight. Bigotry aside, I'm not against Teofimo pursuing those fights if he's actually pursuing them.
I only actually think he's pursuing one. I only think he's pursuing one of those fights seriously, and that's the Javante Davis fight. I never bought into any of this crap about him wanting to fight Terence Crawford. What I think he's doing is clout chasing. What I think he's doing is saying he wants Terence Crawford so that when push comes to shove, he'll sabotage the fight. He'll demand a catch weight. He'll mess it up somehow. Maybe it'll come down to the money and he'll mess it up that way. But I don't believe he really wants that fight.
I don't. I think he might want the Javante Davis fight, but I don't think he really wants the Terence Crawford fight. I don't. A guy as ordinary as you, struggling with the likes of a Sandor Martin, a Jermaine Ortiz, a Steve Claggett, getting beat by the likes of George Kambosos. You're not in Terence's league, and you know it. That's why you ducked Brian Norman. Let's not jump to conclusions. Let's just say that Teofimo could have had that fight before this year was out, and he chose not to. Now, he's left with no fight, calling people monkeys.
That's not all.
According to Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez rejected an opportunity to fight him as part of a Riyadh season show. I was supposed to get back in the ring in October in Saudi, and the next fight was going to be Teo. Turkey offered him a fight. He said he's not ready.
Did Teofimo duck Devin?
According to Devin, Teofimo said that he's not ready. If you question Devin, ask yourself this. Why isn't Teo fighting Brian Norman? You don't want to take it from Devin that Teofimo wouldn't be ready. Then don't. Ask yourself, why isn't Teofimo fighting Brian Norman when that's what the plan was? That is at least what Top Rank wanted, but not what Teofimo wanted. Why isn't Teofimo fighting anyone for what remains of this year?
Is it because he's not ready?
Because we know that Top Rank wanted to make that fight. You're not fighting Brian, you're not fighting Devin, you're not fighting nobody. You're hanging around Canelo Alvarez, trying to smell his cologne and bask in his light.
This is what you'd rather do.
So that when this year comes and goes, all you will have done is fight Steve Claggett over 12 rounds.
That's it.
I tend to believe Devin. I tend to believe Devin Haney, that Turkey was willing to make that fight because we know Turkey's got deep pockets and Turkey's all about making the best fights possible in a timely fashion. And I can believe that Teofimo was offered that fight, but he didn't take it.
Remember, Turkey was trying to make Haney versus Davis. So why wouldn't he want to make Haney versus Lopez?
Why wouldn't he? Why would he have an aversion to that? And why would Devin lie? Why would he say that? Involve Turkey.
Turkey wanted to make it. Teo said he wasn't ready.
Teo is a dickbag.
Bag of dicks.
A douche. He thinks he's better than what he actually is. He thinks he's a bigger star than he actually is. His delusions of grandeur are at the center of all his problems.
He's entitled. Self-entitled. That's why he was belly aching about Top Rank not prioritizing him, making no light of how he's the one who screwed the pooch. You're the one that got yourself beat by George Cambodia.
Whatever stumbling blocks, speed bumps, and hiccups you've suffered in your career were of your own making. You make it harder on yourself, and you make it hard for Top Rank to promote you, so that if you're not where you want to be, it's not their fault. It's yours.
It always was.
Still is. The most that he can hope to do now is go under Eddie Reynoso's wing, hoping that some of Canelo Alvarez's glory will rub off on him, because if he can't, and he's left to his own devices the way that he has been, the bell tolls for thee, Teofimo!
You're on borrowed time, little buddy.
And no amount of content creators sucking up to you for exclusives is going to change that. I'm just giving it to you straight, because it's the only way I know how to give it to you.
You don't coddle fighters around here.
And finally, in men's heavyweight news, ahead of this weekend's mega match, Daniel Dubois' trainer, Don Charles, has now spoken out and insisted that he does intend to be in Dubois' corner for the Anthony Joshua fight tomorrow night. I've been bedridden for the last 5 days. It's a very bad head cold. The most sensible thing to do was not to go near my fighter, because can you imagine if I gave this to him? Then there will be no fight. It's subsided. I feel strong again, and we will not be denied. If God gives us help, then 100% I will be in his corner. That's the plan. A few individuals spread vicious rumors. There has not been any fallout. It's a vicious lie.
It's a lie. Is that what it is?
I spoke to Don myself, I spoke to Stan, I've spoke to Daniel, and he is ill. He's in bed, ill with the flu. He wanted to come tomorrow to the weigh-in, and I told him not to come, just to leave it until Saturday, because by then, if he does catch it, the symptoms won't hit until the following day. That is the situation. And I know there's a problem between them, which is over money. It's not my business, it's their business, but absolute and utter garbage.
There it is.
Frank Warren let it slip up. He let it get away that there is something going on behind the scenes involving money. Money due to Don Charles.
I caught one of my favorite channels here in the YTBC, Boxing Beats and Rhymes, evaluation of the entire situation. And he said it better than I could. Well, if it was just about Don being sick, why would they have let this go on for this long? 4, 5 days? Rumors swirling?
You could have nipped this in the bud a long time ago. Instead of letting it get this far, you could have nipped this in the bud with a little PSA or a video.
Something.
You were gone for 4 or 5 days ahead of the biggest fight of Daniel's career. Surely you have the foresight to know people are going to ask questions. They're going to notice when the head trainer isn't there.
All you had to say was, hey, I'm sick.
And you did that, but it seems like you did it almost out of a need, because you did it at the last minute. You could have said this a long time ago, or someone could have said it for you.
And I know there's a problem between them, which is over money. It's not my business, it's their business.
If there was a rift, if there was something going on behind the scenes, do you think they'd wear it on their sleeves? Do you think they'd come right out and say it? No, they downplay it.
Now is not the time for this.
And two things can be true at the same time. Just because Don Charles is sick doesn't mean something isn't going on. Still could be, because we know that Daniel's dad is very much involved in his career.
This ain't the first time we would have heard something like this, just something along these lines. So for me, what it all boils down to is whether Don Charles is in Daniel's corner tomorrow or he isn't. I had Anthony beating him anyway before any of this started.
Oh, it's interesting to see what effect it could have on the fight, but even if it has no effect and the situation were fine, it were normal, there's no issue with Don Charles and Daniel's dad, there's nothing going on. If the situation were what it was before all of this started, well, I had Anthony beating him anyway.
No big deal.
I've noticed Daniel's demeanor the entire fight week, and for what it's worth, Daniel seems to be in a good place, good headspace, at least the kind of headspace that he needs to be in. He looks like he's up for this. He sounds like he's up for this. Irrespective of these rumors and whatever is or isn't going on behind the scenes, Daniel looks about as ready as he's gonna be.
The other thing,
I don't get the sense that Don Charles is to Daniel what Mick was to Rocky.
I don't get the sense they're that close.
That's just my impression. I could be wrong.
I don't get the sense they're that close.
I don't. The way that Daniel has bounced from trainer to trainer, I don't get the sense that he's really built a rapport with any of these guys per se, that they're all that close. It's just a working relationship to where if for some reason Don Charles weren't in Daniel's corner, would Daniel really be affected by that? Would he?
I'm not implying that the relationship between Daniel and Don is bad. I'm saying that it's a working relationship. Perhaps it's just a working relationship. No more, no less.
No love letters. It's just business.
This is a good fight.
It's got people talking, the drama surrounding it, manufactured or otherwise. It all lends itself to the fight's profile as if it needed one. 96,000 people are showing up tomorrow. It's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Whoever's gonna win is gonna win.
Sydney Sweeney's got a great rack, Ice Spice has got a great ass, and tomorrow,
somebody's gonna get knocked out.
I think it's gonna be Daniel, but tomorrow, we'll find out.